the one that I'm going to do now is this little pouch bag. It's from Diesel Punk Row. I paid for it and now I've printed it all out. Now, although that picture shows it round, there is actually a second pattern that comes with this, which shows instead of the ends being round, the ends are going to be that shape, because I want this to, I'm going to change this from a little bag with handles to a tool pouch for my bike to go underneath my saddle. So that's what we're going to do. So as I say, I've printed it all out, and now we have to start putting it all together. Okay, so what we're going to do this time is we're going to make a little pouch. If you look at this, where are we? There we go. You can see that this has got round ends to it. Well, instead of the round ends, I'm going to put these shaped ends, because I'm going to change this from a bag with handles and round ends to a pouch that fixes underneath my seat on my bike, like a tool pouch. So I need to make a few adjustments to the actual pattern itself, but I'll do that as I go along. So I've bought the pattern from Diesel Punk Row and printed it all out, as you can see here, all printed out. Luckily there's not as many as with the previous project, but it's now time to cut them all out and stick them all together. So as we do with all these, we have to trim them down. The lines are pretty self-explanatory, so it's not too difficult. Okay, some of them you don't have to do anything more than just trim the edge, and then you've got your two patterns which you can cut out, put onto leather and cut them out of the leather basically. Okay, so you see this one's got a line here and a pair of scissors, half a pair of scissors. We're going to cut down that line. We're going to do the same thing on the other half of the pattern, and then we're going to join them together to make the full pattern. We hope. So just do that on that one. You can see where the scissors come together. Now I'll finish that and then I'll show you. And there we have it. Just taped together. Simple as that. And then that is ready to be put onto leather, which I'll show you in a minute. So here we are with the pattern all taped down on the leather, and I'm using a 1.5mm hole punch, and I'm just following all the different holes that are marked on the pattern wherever they're needed, and it's as easy as that. Right, so they're all the holes are done now. All I've got to do is follow the lines with a knife and trim out the actual piece of leather that I want, and then that one is ready to be used. And you just do that with all the different pieces of the pattern. There's no point me filming every single piece because it's basically the same thing. Okay, so that's now cut out for a piece of leather. There's a strap, simple as that. And now we do that on all the other pieces. Now we're doing the end pieces. These pieces, I'm just putting some holes in them. Same again. Basically we just do that all around this edge now on two of these. The next part we're going to do is we've cut out all the pieces. These are the two end sections of the kind of squarish bag that I'm going to be making. Now I've soaked it, just used a little spray gun, soak it all over, leave it for a few minutes, and then bending all the edges up like this. They don't have to be perfectly up. It's just to kind of convince it to go that way once you start stitching the gusset onto it. And I've done that with both of them. Now I'm going to just let those kind of dry in that shape while I go and do the next step. Okay, I've got some walnut dye by Pro Dye, and I've done circles all over first, and now I'm just going back into in straight lines just to try and get a more even coat on it. It looks very dark now, but the more leather work you do, the more you begin to understand, and you have a good idea of what the colour is going to come out like. Now I've used walnut a lot, so I've got a fair idea how it's going to come out. Now it's starting to dry out a bit now, so get a bit more on there. I'm trying not to put so much on that it will go through the holes and dye the back of it, because I don't really want to dye the inside. Now the more you put on of this colour, the darker it's going to get, so be warned. Basically you just keep going until you think you've got an even colour all over it, and hope that you haven't put too much on that it goes through to the other side, because if it does you just have to dye it. But I'm not that worried if I do, because it does come out a very nice colour on the inside as well with this. You just do like one coat, maybe two. Comes out very nice. Now how dark you're seeing it now is not how dark it will be when it dries. It'll be several shades lighter than this. But you still got to be careful, like if you put too much on it will be darker and darker each time. Even them little bits that I've just done there. Okay. Now I will end up with some streaky lines, so what I like to do is get a little bit on there and rub it. Again, it's trial and error as you learn how much to put on. But the thing is, be prepared to accept the mistake and move on if you do it too dark. Plans always get adjusted as you go along. As a matter of fact, it has come out a little bit. I don't know if you can see around the holes, but that's no problem because I kind of like the way it looks inside anyway. So I will do this all the way around the edges, and then I will dye the inside. Okay, it really is a lovely colour, this walnut. If anybody's seen the Explorer bag of Tony's that I made, you'll see the walnut colour on there. It is really nice. Oh, I always put my pots in this with a few other pots because it won't fall over. So I've done that not so long ago and it wasn't funny. I'd only just bought the dye and I tipped the whole lot all over the place. Good thing about the inside is you just get it on because you're not worried about getting it on the other side at all now. But you'll see for yourselves, it comes out really nice once it dries. I'll do exactly the same thing. Now, I'm not doing circles on the inside. I've done it often enough to know what it's going to come out like, but a lot of the time they tell you to do this. Spreads it more evenly, they say, but personally I just get it on and go from there. I just work at getting it even. The longer you do it, the more you tend to find your own way of doing it. Right, so that's that. And now I'm going to do the same thing again. Bit on there, put the pot back in there. And the thing about using sponges is they fall apart on you. Okay, so that should do it. So I'm going to leave that now. For anybody who really has the idea of a leather colour, you know, traditional leather colour, this is the colour that I would say, walnut. Pro Dye, Fiebing's Walnut Pro Dye. That's the one I go for. Okay, so I'm going to pick the bits that I want to dye, because a couple of pieces, the side pieces, I'm not going to dye. I'm just going to let them weather with age. So I'm just going to go and do the other pieces now, and then we'll see from there. Once you got a lot of the dye on, if you wanted to, say, make the edges look a bit more darker, like it's worn in places, what I do is I take some cloth, I use a piece of canvas, And I like to go along the holes and rub. And you can see it go shiny, and you can hear it. It burnishes it by heating it up. And you can hear it start going sticky. And that's when you know you've got it right. Also, if you can see on there at the moment, there's some dull patches. Well, that's because when you dye something, you end up with like a powder layer on the top. So I'm just going to take this and just wipe all the residue off, like that. What I like about this piece of leather is that there's a piece of a brand from the cattle that this is off there. Can't quite make out what it was, but I always like things like that. Looks pretty cool. Okay, so that's one piece done. You see how the back's drying after all that? It looks so messy, didn't it? Yeah, it dries really nice. So that's the inside colour. And now do the same thing on these little straps. Basically, if you want it to look dark, work harder. And Tony from Diesel Punk Row has got a very good video to show you how to darken leather as well by using wax. Whereas he would put a bit of wax on a felt pad, and then he'll tell you himself that you've got to rub like your life depends on it to get that look. I find I can do it like this, and this is how I did it on the Explorer bag. Okay. I know I haven't done the back side of the big piece yet, but I shall do that in a minute. Yeah, it's hard to talk while you're doing this because if you're an old dude, it takes it out of you. Okay. And if you can see it there, but you'll see it on the finished product if you can't see it there.